Hi guys, today we're gonna get a little pumpkin cream cold brew. I already ordered it. Starbucks is packed. I'm not waiting in the drive-thru. I'm just gonna go in and pick up my drink. So let's go do that and I'll be right back. Hopefully it's done. Okay, that took a hot minute, but we got it. It's also raining outside, so I feel like I literally have rain droplets on me that you can see, but whatever. I got her. She's so perfect. This little one piece of hair is sending me. Let's give it a taste test. Fall is here. I'm so excited. As I start to choke on it, I'm so excited. I know it's only August 24th. Also, not them dropping the date literally the day before. I'm so excited for fall. Fall is honestly my favorite time of year. I would say fall and winter are my favorite. Everyone is like, I thrive in the summer. I don't really thrive in the summer, to be honest. I don't like sweating. I don't get tan anymore because I don't really go out in the sun like that. Like, I get enough exposure to get in vitamin D for the day, but I'm not like baking out in the sun. I don't like the idea of doing nothing. And for me, going to the beach feels like I'm doing nothing. You know what I mean? Very like per person though. I feel like some people love fall. I mean, love summer. I love fall though. I just love being cozy. I love layering. I like being covered. I don't know. I feel so safe and warm and cozy. I also love the winter. I find so much joy in the fact that the sun goes down a bit earlier. Obviously when it gets to be like 4 o'clock and it's dark out, obviously I don't love that. There's something about having an end to the day. Like sometimes when it's light out until 8, I feel mentally like I have to keep going and going and going. But when it gets dark out at like 5, I'm like, okay, the day is over. Keep in mind, my opinion also stems off the fact that I was a high school student, and then once I graduated, it's been like everything remote. This year I'm gonna be in person for school, so my opinion will probably change once I'm commuting and it's dark and cold. Honestly, maybe I won't though, and I say that because I'm gonna be in New York City in the best time of the year, the fall and the winter. I'm probably just gonna love it more. I don't know, some things I'm thinking about. It's so crazy. I was talking about this today in therapy. I use BetterHelp. This obviously it's not sponsored, girl. I don't know, I feel like people don't really like BetterHelp. I have an amazing experience on BetterHelp. I couldn't find anybody in network with my insurance, so I just did BetterHelp and I love it. Anyways, we were talking today. What was the point of all this? I just got so sidetracked. Oh, we were talking today about just like being unapologetically yourself, and I think this is something that I get scared to do, and I think that's one of the reasons why I struggled for so long to begin posting on YouTube, because nothing to me felt authentic because I was scared to be myself. And through going to therapy, I've learned so much about myself, and it's really helped me be able to form like a backbone, because I feel like having an opinion scares me. Like, it doesn't scare me when it comes to my morals and values, but I think to go out of my way to voluntarily share things, I just sometimes am like, I don't know if it's worth it. For instance, I was explaining this to her because I'm Christian. I pray a lot. I talk to God. God's a huge part of my life. And I was talking to God about how I just kind of want to figure out what I want to be doing on social media, I guess, because I have this passion in this direction, like for posting, but I just don't even know what to post about, and it's something that I struggle with. So I kind of realized like I need to just have a backbone and have an opinion and be okay with having an opinion, and also to just not being so scared, because worst comes to worst, someone just doesn't agree. That's really not even a bad thing. Like, that's totally fine. It can be hard though to like accept those opinions and be like, okay, like, don't hate me, don't think I'm a bad person, you know? And that's my biggest fear, I guess. But the thing is, you can't accept judgment from people you wouldn't take advice from, you know? And I don't know these people. I wouldn't take advice from them because I don't know them, you know? So I try to just remember that. So I wanted to talk with you guys today, just kind of how I've been strengthening my relationship with God, coming from somebody who has had really no education on God and didn't really understand what she was doing, but God was like knocking at her door 24/7, like, let me in. And when I finally let God in, my life changed for the better. And so there are just certain things that I do to stay close with him as I continue to learn and grow in my faith. And I think one of the first things that really helped me was just letting go of control. I think a huge thing we all struggle with is wanting to have control over every single aspect of our life and every single person and every single situation and ourselves and our careers, and like, we just constantly want to know what's going on. We want to be in control, and that is probably one of the worst things that we can do for our well-being. And that was a huge problem with me. I had a moment of dipping into like spirituality with like crystals and manifestation, and I think a huge thing surrounding that is idolizing yourself, and you can do anything. And I think, yes, you can do anything, but at the same time, I found so much more peace when I let it up to God and I said, God, you tell me what my purpose is, what my passions are, and I will do. And I felt so much peace. I felt so much passion for it. Instead of saying I can do anything, it was, God, what did you put me here to do? And let me do it good. And that for me made my whole mental health completely transformed. And I remember that moment. It was a little over a year ago now at this point that I prayed to God and I said, I will take back out my Bible. And I did. I was reading that Bible. I'm not the best with Bible reading. That's really like like my huge thing I really want to work on and get way more consistent on. I take in a lot of Bible knowledge from like podcasts and YouTube videos. I don't sit down myself and necessarily read it. I am in a Bible study now though, so I am getting a lot more time in the Word, so we are working on it. I just feel like I have received so many gifts and presents from God, but I have not even done anything to earn it, which is like the craziest thing, because that's just how God is. Like, he will give you the world and you don't even understand, and you don't even have to understand what's going on, you know? So yeah, I like totally said to him, I remember just being like, God, I can't do it. I'm so anxious about the future. I don't know what I'm doing. Just had so much uncertainty in every area of my life, and I was just like, God, please help. And so I think the biggest thing is letting go of that control. Let go of control, because control is going to hold you back, because you're never going to be able to trust the process. I'm very like, I wouldn't say I'm type A a ton. Like, type A is you have a plan for every single thing you're doing. I don't necessarily have that, because I've learned over the years nothing ever really goes to plan past probably like a month. I'm not even kidding. If you try to plan your life out super specific, usually it doesn't even happen. So I don't really plan out my life super intensely. I just said to God, like, I can't, like, I am stressing way too much. I have way too much control over my life, and I don't want this control. Like, if this is how life is going to be, I'm going to be miserable. So I let go of control. I prayed on it. I was like, God, you already know I'm yours. Like, I never really like took you up on the offers to change my life, but like, here is the time. Please do it. And the second that I said that was the second that everything changed for me, and I began to hear God's voice. And I think a huge thing is people say, like, I don't know how to hear God's voice. What do you mean, like, he's talking to you? Like, that makes no sense. Which I totally understand. It doesn't sound like it makes any sense, but this is kind of how I describe it to anyone. For me, this is how I know. I like to pray verbally. So what I'll do is, I'm in my car driving somewhere, I turn off the radio and I talk to God. I don't pray in my head because I get so sidetracked. It's just like a personal thing I cannot stay on track. I'll be like, thank you God so much for this, for that, and then all of a sudden I'm thinking about what I need to do tomorrow. It's like my brain cannot stay on track when I pray in my head, because like there's already so many things going on. The idea to pray verbally for me is to get things out of my head. So that's what I do. I pray verbally, and I know that he's talking to me when I am talking about this problem I've been facing, and a solution comes in my brain, like literally comes to my head, and I'm like, oh, okay. And you like feel so much peace. For instance, I recently had to make a decision regarding like going to school full-time or taking this full-time job that I had going on, and I haven't talked about any of this on like any social media at all. So I was like praying so heavily about it with God. I had made like tea charts. I'm talking to my family about it. I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. When I verbally prayed about it with him and I was listing out the pros and cons, the way I was talking about it, it was like the decision was there. So that's also another way too, is if you start to talk things out with God, you'll notice if you're leaning exactly towards like one situation, because just because an opportunity is right there for you, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to take it. And I think that was another thing I had to learn. Other situations, I've had revelations where I've just been kind of chilling and a thought immediately comes to my head, and I feel so much peace and passion towards it where I'm like, oh, this is what you want me to do. That was a wild moment when that happened to me. God does talk. You know, I was talking to him literally yesterday about just certain things I'm dealing with, and I had solutions come to my head that if I was just like thinking about it on my own, I wouldn't have come to these conclusions. But because I'm like actively in prayer talking to God, the conclusions come to my head, which is why I feel like that's from God. You know what I mean? It's really hard to explain, but it's just the idea that things come into your head that you would not necessarily be thinking about or necessarily say or do. One of them was I had to make a scary leap of faith, and I remember being like, this thought would never come in my head, but it has, and I'm on fire for what is in my head right now. Like, it was a crazy moment, and when things like that happen to me, I just wish, I pray so hard that people can also experience that one day. I am not the best at this. I'm still working to like read through the Bible itself, read through the gospel. God has delivered me just miracle after miracle after miracle in my life, and as I said, what the heck did I even do to deserve this? So getting closer to him, a huge thing is talking to him. And if you begin to talk to him and begin to really put your faith, like wholeheartedly put your faith into it, talk to him, pray to him out loud, journal, pray. You can even do like a journal prayer where like you write out your prayer. You can pray in your head, like whatever you want to do. But just anytime something good happens, I really try to say, God, thank you so much. Like, I immediately, instead of saying, wow, I got so lucky, or I'm so like happy that this happened to me, like I always say, like, God, thank you so much for this. And I think just showing your gratitude and understanding like he is the reason you are receiving all of these blessings in your life, and that's a good thing. That's a beautiful thing. And I always just try and show my gratitude as much as possible, because without him, I would just probably be completely lost like I was, you know? That's a huge thing. Talking, prayer, letting him in, listening, trusting. I mean, and you'll know it's from God because it's you have peace with it. When you have like a crazy decision to make and you listen to God, you're gonna make the decision and feel at peace. You're not gonna make the decision and be like, I regret this. I made some pretty crazy decisions and I don't regret any of the decisions I've made. I felt so at peace. Another thing too is taking in Christian content. I'm not saying you have to completely drop secular music. Secular music is like music that isn't worship music. It's just like the worldly music. I'm not saying you have to go crazy with it. I think for me, it was a pretty slow transition, but I got to a point where I felt convicted of certain things, and conviction is basically when you feel God weighing on you to make a change on something that maybe you've never felt convicted to do before. For me, I never felt an issue listening to rap music, listening to pretty vulgar music. Like I was just like bumping to it, and a conviction that I personally had over time was as I listened to these songs, I'm like, yuck. Like, I don't know. I just think it's like kind of gross now to listen to, so I will just like turn it off. I listen to a lot more like country music or just music that's a lot more happy. I felt convicted to stop listening to sad music and depressing music. I noticed it kind of changed my spirits a little bit. It's things like that. You'll start to just feel like a little nudge of not like you're not being condemned, but it's just a nudge of maybe this is something you need to think a little bit more about, you know? You'll start to realize like a lot of stuff is scary. Like when you start to listen to things or see how different people in Hollywood change that create music or create entertainment of some sort, you begin to kind of steer away because you're like, this isn't right. But if I can tell you, like Christian podcasts help me break down so much of the process. I don't know where my education or my relationship with God would be if it wasn't for podcasts. I'll run through some of my favorite podcasts. Happy and Healthy with Janine Amapola. Girls Gone Bible. I love that as well. I like Life Church with Craig Groeschel. Whoa, That's Good with Sadie Robertson Huff. That was the first one I listened to, was that podcast with her. And then also too, I like Ed Milet's podcast because he's a motivational speaker, but he usually ties things into Christianity. A huge thing I noticed with like motivational speakers is a lot of it is self-worship and idolizing yourself, which is something that I found personally in my journey made me very unwell. Ed Milet talks about motivation and like accomplishing your goals, but he also relies heavily on faith, and so I love how he sprinkles that in there. It's like a podcast for everybody, you know? Christian music, I'm still getting into it. I like a bunch of random songs that come up. I listen to like other people's Christian workout playlists and I'll just shuffle it and I'll just listen to it during my workouts. My endurance during running or sprints, listening to Christian music is so much stronger than when I'm listening to secular music. It's really crazy. So I'd recommend giving that a try in your workouts. Giving your workouts to God and listening to worship music, you'll feel like you're maxing out on everything you're doing. It's crazy. Obviously, reading the word is going to be one of the biggest things too. I think something that I recently learned as I'm learning more about the Bible, and keep in mind, I grew up Catholic. I did not really know anything about the Bible. Religion class for me was never something that I genuinely was learning about God with. So keep all of that in mind. So I'm like a little toddler learning about all of this, but it's really exciting. We love it. But also, the enemy knows the entire Bible. So that to me was crazy to learn. When I learned that the enemy knew the entire Bible, the enemy knows the word, we gotta know the word. Those are just some things I'm doing currently. Another thing too is I've also started surrounding myself around people with similar beliefs to me. I've been really just like praying on it to have a community of people that believe in God as well, and that's a huge part of their lives. So that's something that has happened over time. It did not happen quickly for me. I was kind of a loner in it. My dad's very religious. I've talked about it a lot with him. Over time, as I got closer with God, my mom's gotten closer with God. I've gotten my boyfriend to be a lot more in his faith as well. You know, it's just, and I'm never like, you have to do this, you have to do that. Like, I just kind of share things as I learn them with my family and my boyfriend, and I found that to also be helpful as well, because if you can take the like seriousness out of it and kind of just explain things to people that you're learning and have them understand it more, then they can begin to rely on God more, and you can, you know, grow in your faith together. And that's kind of my long-term goal, is to have my whole family growing in our faith together, because I just know how much God has done for me, and I just know how much good he can do for others, and that includes my family. And so that's a huge thing too. And as well as my friends, having godly people around me too, you know, putting expectations on friends and saying they have to be a certain way. But I think it's been helpful having people around me that respect my beliefs and that help me when I'm going through something. Maybe they're not the same way that I am when it comes to my relationship with God, but they bring it into play when I ask for advice. Like, they say, well, God's got you, you know? And it's like, that's so respectful of them to say it. It makes me feel so loved. My plans, like how I want to grow with God and continue to grow with God, God is I really want to get into consistently reading the Bible. I think instead of listening to podcasts that read the Bible throughout their episodes and just like verses and stuff, I want to start listening to, I don't know if these videos exist, but on YouTube, like looking up John chapter 1 and then having someone read it with me and explain what it means. Like almost how they have it broken down for like kids, like the different books of the Bible and the different stories. I'm like, I need to see that. So start kind of on a kid level and then get a little bit more advanced with it because it can be a bit overwhelming, but that's basically it. Subscribe if you liked this video, by the way. Give it a thumbs up. Let me know you liked it. But in the future, I start school next week. I'm planning on doing a lot of New York City college content for you guys. I mean, I live a healthy lifestyle. I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I love God, and those are just some things I want to share. Weight training, just being a healthy being as much as I can, because in the Bible it tells you gotta take care of your body, okay? I do know that. Look, I know some stuff about the Bible. I'm just not a pro at it yet. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. God bless you, and I really am just going to say a prayer for all of you guys that hopefully your relationship with God will grow and he will show you the good that he is, because I think it can be a little bit nerve-wracking, but I promise you, if you just let go of that control and let him do his thing, you will feel the most peace you've ever felt in your life, okay? I love you all so much, and thank you for watching this video, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye, guys.